What's up, y'all? What's up?
What's going on?
Good evening. Good evening. It is. Look at us being on time. That's your anointing, the timeliness. It's 8:30, and we are on as we said we would be. Thank y'all for joining us tonight. We just have a little bit of things we want to share with you guys, talk about, and then we're gonna be out y'all way. So, how you doing today, hon?
I'm well.
You doing
I'm
all right?
well. Yourself?
I'm doing good. Can I just say, like, before we even kick this off, like, today's been dope. And the reason I say it's been dope, we haven't really gone anywhere today. It's been like, just chill.
Sunday chill day.
It's like, yo, it's like, and it feels good. It feels good to just wake up and be like, yeah, we ain't doing nothing. We ain't running nowhere. We ain't, yeah, it just felt really good. It felt super good. So, who's with us? Let's see. Y'all can comment because we can see you guys' comments. We are live on All Things Kingdom by Jamaica, which is my ministry page. We are also live and sharing on Drew Cost, right? And then on All Things Kingdom by Jamaica's YouTube page and Periscope. I don't even know if Periscope's still popping, hun, but
right. Good evening.
I don't know. But hey, my Keisha, good evening. So we gonna get off here because we know y'all get y'all kids getting ready to go to bed and all that stuff, so we won't be on here long. But we got 3 points. What's our 3 points and topics we want to talk about tonight, honey?
So we're gonna talk about business, family, and love. And feel free to ask questions. We'll give answers or we'll give suggestions on what we have, but ask questions. We'll make it interactive and we'll make it fun.
Let's do it. So yeah, guys, we can interact with you guys. I know we can see you guys in the chat box. So yeah, as we go in, but we wanted to get on here and share. Like, there's a lot going on. We've been married for 2 years and 2 months, something like that. And so
more than 2 months.
More than 2 months. August, September. Come on, July, August. Come on. So it's been 2 years. Listen, y'all, it's real. We made it, and we are making it. And in the process of these last 2 years, or I'll just say the last 6 months, we've learned a whole lot. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know if y'all don't know. First of all, let's just like introduce ourselves real quick. If y'all don't know us, many of you do, but my name is Jamaica. This is Drew, my husband. I'm his wife. We've been married for 2 years. As of July 7th, we have 2 beautiful daughters, one that's 14 and one that is 1 going on 14, it feels like, right? But with that being said, Drew is also a entrepreneur, working in
fitness.
He does a whole bunch of other stuff too. He does a lot of stuff. But I work in municipal government, but I also am an aspiring entrepreneur as well, and have an online store for that goes towards ending trafficking and assistance to survivors of sex trafficking. So we got a whole lot going on here, and we're in ministry, right? We are heavily involved in our church. And so, yeah, we got a lot going on. So with all that being said, last 6 months has been real. Mm-hmm. And we wanted to just get on here and just see what's been going on in y'all world. We know what's been going on in Cost Land over here. But we still have business going. We still have family that we have going, and it will continue to go forward. And then we got our love as well. Mm-hmm. And so I had some questions. This is going to be like a question and answer, guys, because first of all, can I just say, like, living with an entrepreneur, is anybody else married to an entrepreneur? Is there anybody else out there who your husband or your wife is an entrepreneur? And I'm not talking about that gig on the side. I'm talking about where their livelihood and their lifestyle is predicated on them being a sole entrepreneur. If there's anybody else out there, please give me a hand wave. Let me know somebody out there with me. But it's huge. Mm-hmm. It is a very huge commitment. It's a lot that goes in place with being an entrepreneur. And I never understood that. I don't think I even learned really what it meant to be an entrepreneur until we got married. I mean, I've always heard about it. I've always had a very entrepreneurial spirit, like where I wanted to do ventures, but I never had it as my primary, my livelihood. if you could just share with us, even how did you get to that point of wanting to be an entrepreneur, and how has being an entrepreneur been affected even in these last 6 months?
For me, I never mind working for someone. I wanted to work for myself for the sake of being able to carry out some things that God had showed me and God had put on the inside of me, and I knew I couldn't carry those things out with someone governing my every step on how I did things. So, um, most people think entrepreneurs, they just go off on a tangent or they go off on their own because they're just uncontrollable or something like that. It's not usually the case. It's more so I want to have more freedom to do things that was the way I saw them in my spirit, and I wanted to also be able to, when I have things come up for my family, I can do those things without um, having to tell my boss I have to leave to go do this. I wanted more freedom. That's the real reason I became an entrepreneur, to have more freedom. Now, how has it been in the pandemic? I think real entrepreneurs versus someone who's an entrepreneur on social media. Real entrepreneurs during times like this, like the pandemic, we kind of live for the challenge. So you've kind of train yourself in your mind to learn how to pivot, to adapt, and do things sometimes that's unorthodox and that's not as concrete at first. And most of the time when that happens, most people don't understand what's happening, because with the 9 to 5 type of job, nothing's wrong with that. Uh, there's not as much pressure on you to create new things or new ways of doing things. It's more so the head of the company will tell you this is how it's going to be done, and then you roll it out. So the last few months during the pandemic, it's been rough because it's been a lot of changes, a lot of fast things to come up with, and ways to keep people safe, keep people feeling good, creating new ideas. But on the flip side, it's been amazing because I've been able to do things that I wouldn't have done during this time, during the time before COVID.
Before COVID. So, is there anybody else out there that are full-time entrepreneurs? Wait, first of all, let me rephrase that, because not only are you an entrepreneur, but you are not the CEO of your business, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, God is the CEO of your business in particular.
Mm-hmm.
How has that been for you when, yes, you still have control in certain areas, because God does give you some free reins and some things that you can do and maneuver within your business. But when you're working for like the CEO of the world, like, how does that work when situations like this come up where you have to be creative and innovative just to keep going forward? Like, what's that like for you?
I strongly believe that God is creative,
Mm-hmm.
and I believe His Spirit's in me. He allows me to be creative. The thing that could be troublesome at time is that God doesn't answer back as fast as you would do something. So, as soon as we see a problem, we want to have a solution within like 40 minutes. And sometimes God may not give you the answer for a while. I moved my business from the gym to my garage during the pandemic, right when the pandemic started, and I had no idea that I could even do that. And God didn't say I need you to move it here. He gave me the free will to do that, and it made ways that were possible. But Him being a CEO makes me always have to go into a place of checking in, and sometimes making mistakes and having to check back in after making the mistakes. But the more I check in with Him, the more I spend time with Him, I get more downloads on, this is how you should do it. You stop doing this, start this. This is what's coming. That's a benefit of it. It's kind of knowing what's starting to come. Like Jamaica knows, before COVID happened, I kept hinting that we should do something with the garage. And before the garage, if she remembers, we had put up 2 punching bags in our basement, and we had a barbell and stuff like that, creating a little gym down here. We had no idea that was almost prepping us for the year to come, where we moved everything from the bigger gyms to our garage, which which God being your CEO will give you little hints and give you little warnings that something's coming.
So I'm almost going to ask myself this question in regards to what he just said, because if there's any wives out there, even if you're not married to a CEO, to a entrepreneur, and all of a sudden he comes home one day and he says that he's converting the garage into the place of his primary business, what would y'all have done? What would your response, Markeisha, what would your response have been? As a wife, anybody out there, but I know Markeisha, my girl, and I know she is married. But what would your response be if one day, right, like he said, he was hitting around to it, and it's like one day it's like boom, there's a big change. There's a change in the dynamic of what goes from business now to now family, right? Because family lives at your home, your residence. So I'm asking you guys, like, if you're still there, what would that be like for you? I'll share kind of what it was like for me. I was like, where I'm gonna park my car? Is there anybody? I was thinking extremely practical. I was just like, and the thing about Drew and I, maybe you got some people know, maybe you don't, but like sometimes we can seem like on the opposite ends of the spectrum at times. But the fact of the matter is, we really complement each other in the areas of like, I can think extremely practical. Like I can think like garage, car. That's where a car goes, in the garage. And he has this download of there's something more that can be done here. You know, there's a more capacity that we can have in our own home and the land that we own and the building that we own. And I'm like, car, garage. So I'm just curious if anybody else, Rima's laughing. Rima, come on. I'm just like, where I'm going to put my car at? But when I went out, can I just say this? When I went out to the garage, like I didn't even go in there. Let me just be honest. Like I was like, I don't know what is happening. Like, what you mean we about to move to the garage? Like it's the garage where there's just spiders and dirt, you know? And so I didn't really go in there. And I was just like, I need to see, I don't have the vision. He apparently had the vision, but I didn't have the vision. But I trusted what he said and go out there one day and I'm like, yo, how did this happen? Like, I felt like there was no walls before or something. Like, I felt like before it wasn't real walls and now there's like walls. There's like a TV. I mean, there's stuff in there. There's equipment, all this stuff, amazing stuff. And I'm like, yo, I couldn't see that, but you saw it, you know? And that is a huge part, I think, of just us as being a family. Like business is a huge part of our family. And that might not be a part of other people's families. You know, there's a certain dynamic that I think we all have to be comfortable with for our family and what God has for you. You got to be comfortable with that. And you got to know that it's not cookie cutter, right? One thing I've learned about being married to an entrepreneur and being an aspiring entrepreneur myself is that there's constant evolution. There's constant pivoting. And one thing about us, I think Drew does it more gracefully than I, but I don't like transitions. I have a very hard time with transitions, and it takes me a while to process transitions. And it just seems like for me, and I know we've had conversations, but for me, it seems like you're just always so sure. You know, you're always just like you're on point when it needs to happen. When it's time to pull the trigger, you pull it. But I
think I want to definitely explain that. There's a lot of fear that goes into those decisions. When I had a couple options, it was either convert the garage into a gym. I couldn't do the basement into a gym because I didn't want. We would wake everybody up if we came inside of the house, even if we came through a hatch. Or what I did for a lot of the time, even still now, is I did a lot of training at the track. We did a lot of boxing right at the track. But I knew there was fear of what is my wife gonna say? Is she gonna trust me now that this big thing has hit and it's made the world pivot and I don't have all the answers at the moment. So that's a lot of fear. What are our clients gonna want to come to my garage, and stuff like that when they're used to a bigger gym and how that runs? But I think what she said, it may seem that I handled it more gracefully. I don't let a week go by without thinking, how am I going to evolve in my business or just what I'm doing? And I don't also think that this is the last step. I'm always thinking there's another step. And she can tell you, if she let me, I would probably stay up all night writing, creating, and stuff like that. But you're always knowing that there's more steps and there's always going to be change. The more you get that in your head, that's not as hard because you know it's going to happen. It's not like a one shot. That's it. You're gonna always be evolving, just like how you would as a person. So there is fear sometimes going into those decisions. When I pull the trigger, it's more so like this is the decision. If I mess up, I got some information of what not to do for the next time.
So before we go on to the next topic, I mean, I think somebody has a question or a statement. Okay, I'll read that real quick. But can you just think about what do you do? Because we all face fear at times, right? Fear does show up. I'm a big person that believes fear shows up right when we're on the cusp of a breakthrough. And so what is it that you do to combat that fear that arises when you have to make those situations? But if you think about that real quick, I just want to show Cornelius's statement here. He says he's always been like that. Sure, I found he still has uncertainty, but he's so driven and focused that he bets on himself and believes that God will direct his steps. Amen.
I appreciate that.
I know, right, CJ? Come on.
And CJ's known me before I was an entrepreneur. So I've known CJ since 2003.
Wow.
So he's seen 17 years of a lot. With the fear, I push into it. Fear is a spirit. Fear, we've heard the acronym before, false evidence, apparent real. But I push into it. If I push into it, I now can use the power of God to battle it. Or you start realizing too, the thing that you're fearing the most is not as bad once you start doing it. But once you start moving towards it, I think we get caught up in an outcome being. I'm not looking for an outcome to come out perfect or to come out one way. There can be a lot of outcomes that could happen. But I'm always thinking when fear comes, push into it. If I fail, I got some data for the next one. I failed a lot in the garage and just doing a lot of stuff, but you got some data or some information for your next venture, but just pushing into it. Fear is going to be there. If you make any new step, it's going to be fear. So pushing into it helps me.
So family, any thoughts on family, hon?
Family, COVID has allowed my wife, and I think most people to realize that we were saying we were putting family first, or we had an idea what family first meant. But when you're stuck with each other a lot more hours in the day, and there's really no place, when the pandemic first happened, there was no place to really go unless you were going to it's not a failure, you succeed and you learn. Amen.
Amen, Sister Say Bryce.
You get to see different sides of your family. You get to see like what makes them tick, what makes them happy. You see all that stuff at once, and you're kind of like trapped in a house together. So family was it was as if we had to create a new way of doing family, and it was a good thing because also being an entrepreneur, a businessman or a businesswoman, you realize that your brain sometimes doesn't shut off as easily as you think it should. Even though someone's like, just stop thinking about it. Like, usually when you stop moving is when those good thoughts starts to happen. But having this stuff happen made us realize that we got to do some things a lot differently now. We came into a family. We had Aaliyah. We had Anaya already. And we had to make all these changes around this pandemic, around the gym being 5 feet from the house now. My ride home used to be a time of debriefing. the debriefing is really a 30-foot step. So it made us view family as if this is the thing that's going to matter in the end, right? And we're not going to get it perfect ever, but we can keep making progress towards that. And it was scary because in business is different. Jamaica can tell you, Jamaica's into business too. In business, I always tell Jamaica this, in business, you can make some drastic mistakes and still be okay after. You can't make a lot of drastic mistakes on a person and there not be some almost like repercussions or some things you got to mend. And with family, you realize that these are the people. I always say this with my heart. These are the people who are going to be at the front seat of my funeral. I have to find out ways. We have to find out ways to gel, to mesh, to do it with each other, to include each other. And that's challenging at times. What about you?
So, yeah, it's funny because, well, I'll share this, that just being completely candid. I mean, years ago, before we even got married, I used to be like, you don't really know, you can't really love somebody until you're married and you live together and you're now in this, when I say in God's eyes of marriage, it's till death do you part, right? So there's an unconditional love that God ends up applying to us to even have the ability to love somebody how he loves us. And I feel like during COVID, a lot of stuff got stirred up. And in a good way, and the end result was always good, but in the process, it got real. It got real a couple times, in the midst of our kids and in the midst of each other. We were in a new zone. We've been married for, again, 2 years, but we had not experienced being in the same house with each other for pretty much 20 or so hours a day. We hadn't experienced that. And then being the people that we are, being very business driven, very innovative, very creative. And we really do put our hands to the plow on things. We're constantly moving and doing something. And then now it's like, oh, we got to move as one unit at all times. That's what it felt like, because now we're sitting in each other's faces. Our children now need us in a way that they had not needed us before, in regards to homeschooling and daycaring and all these different things. And that thing got real, but it allowed us to see even how important our family is before anything else. Like, it helped it helped me, and I know it helped you too, because we talked about this, to really prioritize, to go from what we say is most important to actually doing what's most important. And then I realized that when we started focusing on the family and how important the family is, and how you said that we're going to be sitting at each other in the front row of each other's funeral, like, that's how important it is. Like, we are family. Everyone else are relatives, basically. My homegirl says that all the time. They're relatives. But in this house, if this house is not cultivated in love and attention and our needs being met, everything else falls apart. The business will fall apart, even love will fall apart if we don't focus on what's really the core thing. And so I thank God for it. Like, I know it sounds crazy, and I acknowledge that even the losses, the hurt that people are feeling and experiencing. I'm looking at the silver lining in what has transpired, and I feel like we got a second wind, I feel like, and when we started focusing on the family, business started changing. Like, we started getting ideas to expand our enterprise, to do more work, to do more things. And we were like, yo, where'd this come from? Right.
Yeah.
And so I just think we just kept the main thing. What did CJ have to say? I had to relearn my wife and children during this time. I got comfortable and used to seeing and interacting and dealing with them for a set of hours. This time has opened my eyes to who they really are, what they're dealing with, and what expectations I have for them and them for me. I learned a lot about myself as well.
Let me
Real
comment on that
talk.
too.
Yep.
CJ's my big brother, and CJ said something one day. We were talking about all of this, and he said, "Can you allow your kids, and it can go for a spouse or a friend, can you allow your kids to say what they need to say, and you not react to it, but realize what they're feeling?" And I think when he said he had to relearn his wife, his kids for a set hours, even don't get it twisted. Even if you were by yourself, you had to relearn yourself too during this time, because a lot of the noise was shut out now. Like you couldn't go shopping like that. You couldn't just go and hang out with people like that. So everything got shut down, where like we had to relearn everything. And I think that's purposeful, because it's a transition. But it was a transition that the world needed.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't like it was like a couple of families. The whole world got shook by it of some sort. And to reiterate what we were talking about with business and family, that was a big transition for us and the people who we had to service. Which is another added pressure if you think about it. Jamaica at that time was doing the Myrtle Tree. She couldn't go out and get merchandise as easy, or couldn't do showcasing and stuff like that as easy. So when you're creative and you can't create in the normal way, that can add pressure on the family.
Yep.
When you're like, I just want to get out the house. I'm sick of looking at the TV or the walls. Those things can add pressure. But I'll ask Jamaica this, and then I'll answer. How did you handle that pressure?
So initially, right, real talk, I think I kind of like just freaked out. And so so my freaking out can go two ways, okay?
Tell them both ways.
So my freaking out, I always tell Drew, Drew is like that calm dude. He like in the middle, man. He just be chilling right in the middle. He can, if it's time to go left, he'll go left, but he chilling right in the middle. I am either left or right. Like I'm either hot on fire or I'm cold as ice. And so those are my two spectrums, right? So like when I freaked out initially, just like on the change, like I said, I don't really like change that much. I'm working on that. With all the changes that were happening, all the uncertainties, either I got cold as ice where I'm just not really talking. I'm present. I'm physically present, but I'm not emotionally present. I'm not socially present. Or I'm hot like a dragon where everything is getting on my nerves. Okay. You didn't put your socks in the wrong place. Okay. The baby stuff is all over the place. Everything's bothering me. Right. I've learned the balance with that. And can I be honest with you? Initially, I was not like, I didn't turn up in prayer. Like that's the first thing that I should have done, is to turn up in prayer, meaning going in and seeking God and the inner courts more vigorously to find out what was going on and what things that God wanted to happen for our family, instead of just seriously freaking out. That's how I ended up honing back in. Holy Spirit, he'll grab you up and be like, yo, what is you doing? How you talking to your husband chocolate like that?
It's really called the chocolate.
But you understand what I'm saying, guys? Like, it took me a second, right? And I thank you for your patience. You totally patient. My husband is like the most patient dude. What'd he say? God forged Andrew Jeffrey Cost in fire. He's seen it all and came out either stronger or wiser. Not too much can rattle my boy. He's always on the fence and looking to apply a fence. Listen, look, CJ, you already know what time it is. You already know. But I
Love you,
think,
man.
but I thank God because, and Kanisha said COVID blessings, and the shift. That's right, Kanisha, COVID blessings and the shift. But yeah, hun, like it got real, and I thank God for His Spirit because He sure enough got me together and said, "Listen, hold up, come into my presence, come into the presence of God, so that you can get some clarity, get some peace."
So I want to stay on these two topics. I think we can make love a different one.
Yeah.
Something that we learned too is that each other we have feelings, no matter how business minded we are, no matter how strong we are, no matter how focused we are. There's still feelings with the person that you're married to, and the people in your household, and the people in your business. And when the pandemic happened, a lot more killings happened with Black lives, and that affected a lot of my students. It affected me, and it affected. We talked about it a couple weeks ago. We needed to do something on that, CJ. Don't tell them what it is yet. We're gonna do something together on that. Ranges of emotions. We had a time where we went to a trip and we experienced I've experienced racism before, but we felt it. And all of this stuff was happening during the pandemic. So there are some days where we're just like, man, we can't breathe. Like it's just heavy. But the thing that we learned, and I think helps us in times where we have to face something now, is that we're on the same team. We're on the same team.
Yeah.
That's hard to accept at times because you just feel that you have the feelings that nobody knows what I'm going through. I'm the only one in the world going through this. You're not. But something that was important was to realize that we were on the same team. And for those who are single or not with a spouse, I'm sure God has given you some friends or people around you who could help or be a support. And if you say you don't have those people, you're probably looking at them right now when you're talking to them live. But with that, the business and the family, none of that would have been well or would have worked if we didn't come up to a place to realize we're on the same team. You might be the point guard in this area. I might be the shooting guard in this area. In this area, you may be the point guard. So you were switch roles, but we had to have realized that we were on the same team.
Yeah.
Or else the pandemic would have killed us or has messed up some relationships.
Yeah.
But I think the main thing we had to realize is that we're gonna try to do this the best that we know how. We'll get the help from God. We're gonna make this a lifelong commitment. We gotta pace, right? We gotta be patient.
Yeah.
We gotta realize blowing up on each other won't help anything. That it won't help. It will feel good, and then when you gotta go apologize or you gotta go make things right, it's more damage done. So we've gotten better at learning. We're on the same team. We're not gonna get it all right, and be okay with every day not being perfect. Something we always laugh about is some days there's toys still in the living room.
Yeah.
Because Aaliyah is a monster. Right? And not go to bed being like, we failed as parents because there's a Lego in the middle of the floor. Rather than we're going to bed, we're still alive during the pandemic.
Yeah.
We have our health.
Yeah.
And our home is intact and things like that. But to encourage people who I deal with a lot of people who are single. You're not alone. Like, you're not alone. If you think you are, you got me and Jamaica right here. Right? You're not alone. And the enemy is a master at making people feel alone and isolated.
Yeah.
So that they start doing things. Nobody's supporting me. Nobody's there for me. He's a master at that. And then you don't realize that you'll go into a place of starting to hate people. And starting to push yourself into a place of depression. Jamaica knows more about that subject, about that stuff. I'm just a fitness coach, so she can talk about that.
Look who brought it up, y'all. So I guess I wonder who knows more about that. Let's see. Kanisha says, we're getting off of here, guys. 5 minutes. Amen. I've gotten over that house projects in the middle of the floor. Listen, building chairs, grills. Listen, Kanisha be having her hands on everything. Kanisha, that's right.
Kanisha built a gym too during COVID.
Listen, she building everything.
And lost 25 pounds.
That's crazy. During COVID. While everybody else gaining.
Well, everyone gained 35 pounds.
Yeah, where you at?
Lost 25.
Where you been at? Listen, what we doing wrong? Let me see. CJ says, I knew Latoya Harris was the wife God had for me when I learned how she argues, never shoot for hearts. Wow, that's good.
Look, if you guys didn't know, CJ's a counselor also that deals with families and marriages. So you guys need to get him like on a podcast or get him somewhere. We need to get him on a podcast too because he has a lot of information.
My God. Kanisha said, correction, full gym and 29 pounds. Come on, Kanisha.
I'm a coach too.
So yeah, guys. So we're wrapping it up, but yeah, honey. First of all, can I just clarify? He's talking about us. What you say? When we get, you said something about getting at each other, something like that. It'd be me. Yo, Drew is the same all the time, y'all. All the time. He was really talking about me. Rima said, good job, Kanisha, on the weight loss. Yes, congratulations, girl.
In our closing, too, some key people came on here today. I've never met Rima before in my life. I know Rima from, I think we were in a fitness Facebook group. She bought one of my first shirts, so thank you.
Shout out.
And Sister St. Bryce was on here, right?
Yep.
She's been a major blessing to, even with some of my Conquer stuff in the past. So I didn't want to overlook those people who didn't get a chance to say anything more. But we'll go over the loved one maybe next week or whenever Jamaica decides we want to do a live. Again, I'm not really the live person normally. I'm not. But yeah. I say this, if you guys have additional questions, drop them in a comment, and maybe we can shoot a video out or something like that to answer them.
For sure. So, guys, get used to seeing our faces, right? Get used to seeing this face. And we'll check y'all out. Listen, stay tuned and connect with us on our ministry pages. I believe I already said it, but we'll make sure we put it in the comments. Oh, look at that. Battery getting close. But All Things Kingdom by Jamaica, and then Druism Transformation Lab on Facebook and Instagram.
Shameless plug. Go to my Instagram page. I need all the support. I have a new line of clothes coming out. Go to it. It's called the first one is called a Hustler of Change. It simply means we're working to make a change in the world, a dent, and it's gonna take some hustle, some grind. Some elbow grease, all of that. So go to the page, go support, go buy something, go buy your mom, your cousin, your daughter, your son, buy everybody something. All right.
Shameless plug. All right, guys, y'all be blessed.
Yes, Taylor. Yep. Shout out to the garage crew. Shout out to the garage crew.
Oh Lord. Guys, good night. We hear our kids calling us upstairs. I don't know if Aaliyah beating up Naya or what.
It's bedtime.
It's bedtime. So listen, y'all be blessed. God bless you all. We are praying for you, literally. We are praying for you, and we ask that you continue to pray for the cause. We love y'all. Peace.